The Kentucky State Senate passed a bill today that would allow medical professionals to reject performing a service based on their conscience.
Senate Bill 72 now heads to the House of Representatives. WKYT's Madison Porter talked to organizations for and against the bill. It's our top story tonight at 5:30.
For the third year in a row, Republican state legislators are trying to pass a bill that they say will protect the moral and religious conscience of healthcare professionals. Jesse Green with the Family Foundation calls it a simple bill.
We believe that everyone should be able to practice in their profession without having to be forced to violate their moral, their religious beliefs.
The proposed legislation would not allow a doctor to refuse care in an emergency. Otherwise, it states they can turn away a patient without any consequences.
In those circumstances, when a doctor decides that they cannot morally agree with the procedure, there's always other doctors that are available to provide those procedures.
The Fairness Campaign Executive Director Chris Hartman says that's not true. He says in a field where specialized healthcare professionals are already limited, especially in rural communities, it will only increase those barriers.
What's more likely to happen is that if someone experiences this type of denial in a doctor's office, they're probably just going to stay home rather than seek another physician.
He believes people in the medical field will use Senate Bill 72 to justify prejudice.
We know this is only going to lead to discrimination against marginalized communities, folks of color, patients who are LGBTQ, patients who are immigrants or English second language speakers.
In Frankfort, Madison Porter, WKYT.
Senate Bill 72 passed with a 28-5 vote. It has yet to be referred to a House committee.